All right, so we're going to get our project set up. So you should have the link, and you can create a copy of the template by clicking the assignment. You just go to code, open in GitHub Desktop, then locate where you want to save it, then click on clone, and wait for that to work. All right, so once that's done, it may ask you if you want to, does you want this to be personal use or whatever use. Doesn't really matter which one you pick. You just want to get to this screen. Once you're there, you're going to want to click on Show in Explorer. It'll pull this up where you have your files. You're going to want to find the U project that's there. I'm going to right-click this, click Show More Options, and generate Visual Studio project files. And once that's done, you'll have a .sln file. Go ahead and click on that and open that up. All right, so once that's pulled up in Visual Studio, you may need to go to your Solutions Explorer, which is there at the bottom. So you can click on Solutions Explorer. You can hide this stuff. We don't need that. We just want what is here inside of the games folder. Look for the project name, source, expand that out, and you're going to see playerCharacter.h and playerCharacter.cpp. These are files that I created for you just to kind of get things working with some starter code already built in. We'll talk about what that code in a minute is, though. Go ahead and then click the Start Without Debugging button and run that. And it should open up in Unreal. We'll give it a moment to do so. If you end up running into an error, you need to make sure that you have Engine version 5.5.4 installed. By going to the Epic Store Launcher, make sure you have one that says 5.5.4. All right, so it loaded the project. If you go into your content drawer, you're going to see a folder in here called Maps, and then a level here called Gray Box. Go ahead and open that up. And then actually go to Edit, Project Settings, Maps and Modes, and set your editor startup map to be the Gray Box level, and the game default map to be a Gray Box level as well. This is going to be your test map. So we'll be doing some of our work in here until we eventually work on adding in different parts of the level. All right, so this project, the only thing I have in here is in the C++ classes, I have created your player character, which is actually open in Visual Studio right now. All I did was create the file and then provides just some starter code for the input. Let's look at what we have here. So player character.h, this is inheriting from the character class. So we get access to all the parts that are part of the character class. I added in here a reference to default mapping context, and then a reference to the move action, and then a function that will handle actual movement. If we look inside of here, I have inside of begin play provided you the binding, the enhanced input actions. I have the binding there for you already. Then I've set up basic player input component for you for the move component. So we will need to add in other ones as we go. And then again, the function here for movement, which we don't have anything for yet. All we have is we just set things up. So back in Unreal, I'm going to go to the content drawer, and I'm going to go settings, and I want to make sure that I have show C++ classes on. That way I can see this file. I'm going to right click this file, and I'm going to click on create blueprint class based on player character. And I'm going to call this the name BP_player character. And click on create player character. So to go into my content drawer, I should now see my blueprint class for the player character. I should create a new folder here called blueprints, and I will drag that in. So the blueprint player class, we have access to a few different things. We have input the default mapping context, which is what I provided for you, and then the move action. So we can set these, and we can set the mesh and other things, which we'll handle a little bit later. For now, though, let's go ahead and create our input. So back in the content drawer, I'm going to right click, create a new folder called input. Open this up, and I'm going to right click, go to input. I'm going to create a input mapping context. I'll call this IMC player character. Once I have the IMC, I'm going to right click, go to input, and I'm going to create an input action, and I'll call it IA_move. And I'll open this up, and this input action, we define what kind of value we get. And this is going to be an axis 2D. Save this, close it. Go to my content drawer, go back to my IMC player character, create a mapping for the IA move. And I'm just going to set up W, then A, or S, sorry, WS. So W forward, S back. A will be left, D will be right. Once I have that, I'm just going to save. Then go to my BP player character. I'm going to set my default mapping context to IMC player character and my move action to move action. I'll hit save. Press play. Nothing happens. I am still controlling a default character. First, in BP player character, I'm going to click my capsule component, and I'm going to search in the details for hidden in game. I'm going to turn this off because I want to, when I press play, to be able to see my character where it's at. We haven't spawned one in yet, though. But we'll do that in a second. So I'm going to go to my content drawer, go to my blueprints. I'm going to right click. I'm going to create a new blueprint class. This is going to be a game mode base. I'll call it BP_game mode. I'll open this up. And here we can set the player default pawn class to be our BP player character. That way it will spawn that character for us. Save. And I can actually go ahead and just close this right now. I go up into edit, project settings, maps and modes. And I'll set my default game mode here to my BP game mode. That way, regardless of what map I am in, it will use that game mode we just made, which we'll modify more later. Then I'll press play, and I'm going to eject. And I now have a player that is in the game. You can see the capsule that's there. But I can't move. I'm controlling the player right now, and I'm trying to go forward, back, left, and right. Nothing's happening. So what can we do? How can we fix that? Let's test to make sure our binding is working. So I'm going to go into my player character, and inside this move function, let's give it something to do when we get input. Well, let's just print out a log message. So I'm going to do UE_log, UE log, and then it'll be a log temp. Then it's going to be a warning. Then finally text. You press a move button. There we go. So this is going to print out this log message when we press the move button. So save this, and I'll go back to Unreal. I'm going to do a hot reload, and then press play, and I should get a log message. How can I test? I'm going to go to my output log, and I can see that when I was playing the game, I can see that I pressed a button. In fact, I can click dock the layout, which will dock the output log there. Press play and see, as I press buttons, W, S, A, and D, it is showing that I pressed a button. So my input is working. Well, let's go ahead and set up the other actions that we're going to need to do. So we're going to need to make actions for, I'll write a comment here. We're going to need jump. We'll need look. We're going to need shoot. Reload. So we need to make jump, look, shoot, and reload. Except we actually want to make a quick change here. We want these to be blueprint accessible. So in the U property, after edit anywhere, we want to say blueprint read only for the default mapping context. But for the move action, actually we want the same thing. We want blueprint read only. So I'll do blueprint read only. And then I'll copy and paste these 2 lines of code a few times. So I'll do 4 more times. I need my jump action. I need the look action. I will need shoot action. And then reload action. Then I need to make my functions for these. So I'll do void, actually, you know what? Copy and paste is our friend. So I'll copy this move, and I will do this 4 times. So one will be move, one will be look, one will be shoot, one will be reload. And we actually need another one, and that will be for jump. All right, then I'm going to create those definitions for those here by highlighting this and click on create definition for look. Then do the same thing for jump. There we go. So we have our functions that are going to handle actual movement. I'm going to copy and paste the UE log to each one of these and set them up. All right, so once we have that, we now need to set up our input binding for each one of these. So I'm going to copy and paste a few times. I'm going to grab this line of code here, this bind action. I'm going to copy and paste this 5 times. 4 times, so there are 5 versions. And then we just set the action for each one of these. So this will be jump action, which will trigger jump. Now we are going to modify each one of these a little bit later. We just want to get them set up because in reality, we're going to need 2 different jump functions. We're going to need shoot to be a different thing where it's not untriggered, it's going to be unstarted, and so on and so forth. But for right now, we just want to get things up and running. So I'm going to file and save this, save all, go into Unreal and do a hot reload. There's kind of a lot of changes, so we might end up having to completely recompile, but we'll see. All right, looks like it worked. So we now need to go back to our inputs and we need to create actions for each one of these. So I'll do input, action, IA, jump, and so on and so forth. Once we have those, IA move is going to be axis 2D, vector 2D. IA look is also going to be axis 2D, vector 2D. Save that. But IA jump is going to be a digital bool. So is shoot. And so is reload. So you can file, save all those. And then go back to my IMC and I can add in mappings for each one of these. So I'm going to create a mapping and this one will be for IA look. And this is going to be for mouse XY 2D axis. Create another mapping for jump, and this one's going to be for the spacebar. So we're not going to worry about getting all the settings and all the different modifiers for these done yet. That will come a little bit later. Save this, press play, test it out. So I'm going to have my output logged doc so I can see it. And then press things. Oh, actually, no, it's not going to work yet. We need to go to our BP character, go to our character, BP character, and we need to actually set the actions here. So here, jump, look is look, action is, or shoot action is shoot, reload is reload. All right, compile and save that. And now I move my mouse, keeps giving the warning. I press W, S, A, D, spacebar, press jump button, R, reload button, and left mouse button for shoot. So my input is correctly bound. So now let's get movement actually working. These are relatively easy. So back in Visual Studio, I'm going to go to my move function here, and I'm going to delete the log message. And instead, I'm going to set up the actual movement. So for this, we're going to need something called an F vector 2D, which is going to be called the movement vector. This is going to be equal to the value dot get F vector 2D. What is this? Well, this is getting the value that we pass in. So whatever value we get from pressing a key, right? We pass that in here and get what that movement vector is. Then we say if our controller is not equal to null pointer, this is a check to make sure that we have a player controller. We can say add movement input. And this wants world direction and the value. So let's do get actor forward vector, parentheses, comma. And we'll say we'll get the movement vector dot y. We're saying we want to get the direction of forward and apply movement based off our input to that. So we move forward in that direction. And then we want to say add movement inputs. So we get right, get actor right vector. For this one, we want movement vector dot x. So we're getting our forward movement here, and we get our right movement here. So this lets us move forward, back, left, and right. So save this. Go to Unreal, go here and compile and check. Close that, and let's test it out. So forward, every button I press, I keep moving to the right, no matter what I do. Why is that? Well, that's because to the right, or where I was facing, this way is forward Y, while this direction is X. I can tell because of the gizmo down here, right? So we define what our forward is. So forward should actually be going this way. This should be to the right, and this should be left. So we can go into our IMC for W, and we need to add in a modifier. And this one is going to be a swizzle input axis. S is going to get a modifier, two modifiers actually. One for swizzle, and then another one for negate. A will get a negate modifier. And then D gets no modifiers. So we'll save that and test it out. Forward, back, right, and left. So we have movement. And then the last thing we want to do is get our look direction right. So I'm going to go back in here, go back to our look function here. Let's set this up. And for this, I'm actually going to copy and paste from move into look. I'll delete these here though. So we're getting our movement vector, though it actually should be called look axis vector. So let's change the name of this to look axis vector. Check for the controller, and then we do add controller yaw input look axis vector dot x. And then we'll do the same thing for add controller pitch input look axis vector dot y. We save that. Back to Unreal, compile, and try this out. And I can move my mouse around. So when I move my mouse, I look around. The direction though is inverted for me, where if I go up, it looks down. If I put my mouse down, it looks up. That's inverted. Some people don't like that. I don't like that myself. So I'm going to go to my IMC player character, go to my look. For look, I'm going to add in a modifier for negate. Save that. And there we go. So we negated both, so not quite. So I'll need to go in here for index and make it so it will only invert Y. Up, down, right, left. So I can now move and look around. We have a first person shooter. Well, we have first person movement. So I know it was a long video, but we got a lot done. So I'll leave it here for right now. And in the next step, we will get projectile and other basic things kind of working. That's it for this one. Thanks.